Hi, Keira. Great to
Hello, how are
see you
you?
today. I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad, thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to share a bit about your experiences in the program so far, because you are still in the Success Without Sacrifice program. Do you want to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about where you were at before you joined?
Sure. So my name's Keira. I'm an owner of a physiotherapy practice on the Northern Beaches in Sydney. Um, when I signed up to the program, I had just taken on, I think it was two. I had one and had just taken on another physio. But I guess that was sort of coming off the back end of last year where there was a period of time where I was the only physio for quite some time,
Yeah.
struggling to find staff. Um, where we were at when I did join the program was going, well, this is make or break. If this year doesn't turn around from 22, I was pretty much ready to shut the doors come this time this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you were trying to juggle like running a busy practice, working 6 days a week, and
I
you've
was
got
6 days a week,
not
yeah.
two, not three, but four little people. And they're little as well, aren't they? Like, what's the age
Yeah,
range?
my youngest is one, just turned one.
Yeah, yeah. And that was taking its toll when we spoke. I remember you being like, I'm not going to do this for much longer.
Yeah. And I wasn't prepared to do it for much longer, to tell you the truth. We were just making ends meet, if not covering every monthly expense. I was busting my ass every day, 6 days a week. So yeah, I was pretty much ready to throw the towel in. This was sort of our last ditch effort, I guess.
And it's like a really common situation that people come to me in. I think it's easy to feel like you're the only one who isn't able to make this work. But you'd have seen there's lots of other ladies that are in similar positions to you. And one of the reasons I really was really keen to invite you to come and share your story is because what you've created alongside many other women in the program this year is the thing that I share with people who are looking at the program and they're like, really? That sounds too good to be true. So do you want to share what life looks like for you now, 6 months after joining the program, and how things have changed?
Sure. So yes, I was one of those people being like, that can't be real. How can I have my cake and eat it too? I am now working 3 days a week. I have two other full-time physios on. I've got two new ones starting come Jan, which is a bit scary, but we're going to make it work.
We will.
So the biggest change for me is obviously coming back to the 3 days a week. Now I have an admin day in that where I sort of tidy up loose ends, and then I have a completely full day off where I don't think about work at all. My other big thing was that even though I had the two other physios, that I was always the busiest. And I think that was our biggest battle in terms of how we could change that and turn that around. When I was there, I was busy. They were twiddling their thumbs. When I wasn't there, they weren't busy and they were sitting there. So that was our biggest battle, which, to be perfectly honest, hasn't done a complete flip yet. But there are days today, for example, where I'm not there and I haven't looked at the diary once, and I know they've got patients in.
You're very good at minimizing your success, Keira, because and I wanted to talk about this too. We had a moment, I want to say it was like August, where like I'm a bit bummed, like revenue's not really growing. And I'm like, okay, let's talk about what's going on, because obviously like that's what we want to do, is have you grow your revenue. And I'm like, what does it look like caseload wise? And you're like, well, I'm working 3 days now. And I'm like, hold up, Keira. But you're doing 6 days before. And you were like, well, yeah. And I was like, no. Like we spoke at that point, didn't we, about like there's a foundation to be built. And a lot of that is time. Like you can't grow a business when you're working 6 days a week because you're the lead clinician and there's no time to be CEO. And so we talked then, didn't we, about like the first bit that comes is you having time, and the second bit that comes is growth. And then I think, was it maybe 6 weeks later, and you were like, oh, so the growth's come. So do you want to share what that looks like from a growth point of view?
Yeah. So you're right. I did need a lot of convincing with that. Even looking at the numbers, I'm like, oh, well, it's not really changing. But yes, I think then off the back of that, maybe it was like June, July was probably our biggest month that I'd ever had since buying the business, which is about 5 years ago we bought the business. So that came as the biggest month. And then I think coming into September somewhere, I had 2 weeks off. Went on a family holiday and we had our biggest day ever, which was like triple what we'd ever done. And then October just blew it out of the water. So October was our biggest month by easily an extra 10K for the month.
And you've added $20,000 in pretty consistent revenue, and you've cut back to working 3 days a week from 6. Like, that's the bit that people are like, are you telling me that I can work half as much and earn twice as much? Like, that's what I promised. And people are like, well, I don't know, how can that be true? But I would guess that come January, you will have doubled your revenue in the business. Maybe February, because January is not a great month here in Australia.
Yeah.
Come February, I think you'll be seeing that you will have doubled your revenue from where you were that time last year, and you'll be working half as much.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing, I think, as I said, like you trying to drill into me, was that I only work 3 days a week now. I don't think I could ever go back to even 4 days a week. How was I doing this 12 months ago? Yeah. I'm back at the gym. I think I'm a better mum because I'm happier.
Yeah.
I'm not always like, oh, I've got to do work. I've got to do this at midnight. Quick, go to sleep. But the other big thing, we met with our accountant just as a yearly checkup, and I think it was this quarter alone we're at half of what we were annually.
Yeah, you had that meeting where your accountant's like, hold up, what is going on here? This is a problem. We need to deal with this before tax time comes around.
Well, yeah, so he's saying like we're already halfway where we should be in the first quarter alone. So that was a good bigger picture to see as well.
Yeah. And where we should be, where we are, right? Because this is just going to grow from here. You've got 2 more therapists starting in January. So
yeah. And I wasn't looking to hire at all. They came to me, and if that had been 12 months ago, there would have been like, oh, no way am I taking on anyone else. I don't think I'm completely ready to take on 2 new ones, but we're rolling with it. So, and I know what we've got to do. I've also hired a practice manager since I've joined the program, which
awesome.
I think was a big game changer.
It always is. It gives you that time back to not be in it. Yeah. And we're just getting started. What are you, like 6 months in?
Yes. Yeah, not even really.
What do you have? Do you have any like sense of where you feel you might be at the end of next year?
Happy. Well, I mean, if I look at what's happened over the last few months and how it's changed, I mean, things can only get bigger and better. My hubby is currently not working due to other reasons, and he thinks now, looking at what's going on with the business, he's not going back to work. Job. He's like, I'm just going to sit back and then help with the kids.
We need a cleaner in the clinic, so great, come be the cleaner.
Yeah.
But how awesome is that for him to not have that, to not have the pressure of like, oh my goodness, you don't have a job, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
B, to be a woman carrying that comfortably, like that's pretty cool. But C, to like your husband to be able to take a step back and, he's joking, but there will come a time where it's like, actually, I do want to do something, and now I get to choose what that something is instead of having to take something because we need the money. To be able to create that environment is like, I find that priceless, to be able to do that stuff.
And it is great, like I'm back at the gym. I'm, he's home, so I can go and have walks by myself and get away from the kids. So even just from a completely non-work related perspective, I've got a life back. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I've got a life back. Well, I see like the 1 mil for you next year. You'll be on the adding to the list of million practice owners.
Yeah, and look, and I think when our first ever meeting, I think that I don't even think I got that close to a target or a goal. But
I think
Yeah,
you might have said 50,000. I think that might have been the goal that you put when we asked, like, what would you like your revenue to look like? I think you might have said 50,000 a month.
yeah. I mean, I can't remember exactly, but it definitely wasn't looking at that mil mark. But who knows now?
Super exciting. I'm confident that that is where you will land at the end of 2024. But working part-time, right? That's
Yeah, and as you said, that's the main thing. I can go to every Christmas concert coming up that I want to go to.
want to go to, are required to go
Have to go
to.
Between the four of them, there's a lot of Christmas concerts.
And we're laughing, but that's the stuff that eats away at you when you're flat out and you have no time to breathe, and then the school drop a concert on you at like a week's notice, and you're like, how am I supposed to get to that? And then your kid's like, Mum, why weren't you there when everybody else's parents were there? Like,
Yeah.
I have friends who, you know, can you like wave at my kid because I really can't make it? And I'm like, it's heartbreaking. And I know that they're devastated that they can't be there. So
yeah. And that's a non-negotiable for me to like, I want to be at all the kids' things, but then to do that, I used to have to work an extra 2 hours later that night to cover that. And I don't have to do that now. It's just like, oh, I'm not there for 2 hours and everyone's got it covered.
I love that. Well, I'm so proud of what you've achieved, and I'm in such a short space of time as well. I'm really excited to see what we achieve together next year.
Oh my.
Thanks so much for your time.
No
I
worries.
know it's really helpful to people. Like you mentioned when we first got on here that you watched some of these videos yourself when you were thinking about joining. So I know it really just helps people be reassured. So I appreciate you taking the time to do it.
Welcome.